A short video on tennis grips. Uh, I had a request to talk about grips, and again, I'm not a super avid at doing these live videos, so it's just something that I've tried, and I had a second request. So if I ramble on or it's not the best, sorry. I may not be the best teacher, but I'll try to do my best and explain my knowledge of grips, at least as a start. So periodically, I'm going to glance over at my phone because I did this yesterday streaming, and it kept cutting off on me. So if I come around this way, my apologies. Uh, there are a lot of different ways that you can hold a tennis racket. Um, some of the jargon, the words that may be too much for you to look into, so I'll try to break it down in terms of the actual handle itself. So every tennis racket has 8 planes or flat parts that go around the grip. If you hold the racket perpendicular to the ground, I number this one plane number 1. Okay, so if you count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you're back to 1. You can count the other way too if you're left-handed, because these planes will shift. If I'm left-handed, my forehands are opposite, so or backhand. So that's important if you're left-handed watching this. I'm just going to check it and make sure it's still recording. So I'm right-handed, so I will mention it from a right-handed perspective. If you're left-handed, you're just going to go opposite. So if I make reference to the V of my hand, I'm talking about this area where my thumb meets my hand up to my index finger. So this V. So if I make a V, that's what I mean by the V of my hand. So when I was a kid, I was raised as a continental gripper, where the V of my hand rides up the plane of the racket. All right? This is the number 1 plane. Again, it's what I call it. Number 1 plane up the handle. Okay, that would be 2, etc. So as a continental grip, which you'll hear this a lot, your V of your hand is up that number 1 plane. Okay, that's called a continental grip. I serve with a continental grip. I think even like Roger Federer serves with a continental grip. Not that that necessarily matters, but and it's preference to a lot of people. My son serves it with it tweaked towards the number 8 plane a little bit. Neither here nor there, just saying. So I serve with a continental grip. I feel like it's nice. I can do what I want to with it. I can spin. I can pronate to flat and so forth. So the continental grip is where you hit with the V of your hand up that plane. Okay, so remember that. Continental grip is one type of grip you can use. Second is going to be the semi-western grip. Checking if it's recording. So the semi-western grip is where the V of your hand slides over to between the second and third plane area, sometimes even on to the third plane. Okay, that gets towards a western as it goes underneath. So continental, semi-western, over to about here, but you have to kind of hold there. It goes to full western. So semi-western is comfortable for me to hit my ground strokes with, at least on my forehand side. Okay, I'm not going to have this grip on my backhand side. I have to change. So on my forehand side, if I rotate the V of my hand from plane number 1, in between this area, that's considered a semi-western. It's what I use. Generally, it's what I coach, as well as my wife. Then moves to the full western. That's where the V of the hand, remember continental, semi-western, full western as your hand is underneath. The V is really over here on the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, down even to 4 and 5 planes, which would be on the bottom side of the handle. Okay, that's where you're really coming up under the ball and making contact with your arm. Kind of, it's an awkward shot for me from a physiological perspective, I think it's taxing on the body. It doesn't really look too good to me. A lot of loopy stuff, but hey, some people nail with it and do really well, much better than I, some with this type of grip. So I'm not condoning it. I don't prefer it. But that's a full Western, and again, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. I'm just not too fond of it, let's say. Anyway, so as a review, forehand side, you have continental grip, plane 1, semi-Western, plane 2, to the 3 area, full Western, 4, and even under to 5. So, boom, 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 okay? That's the forehand side and serve. So, for me, continental for serve, plane 1, forehand, between 2 and 3, semi-Western, full Western, underneath, okay? So, on the backhand side, which is, for me, a right-hander, is on my left side, okay? I use an Eastern one-handed backhand. So, if I'm going to my backhand side, my hand with the racket now perpendicular to the ground again. Remember, continental perpendicular, you're shaking hands with it. Forehand, shaking hands with it. Okay? Continental forehand. Backhand side, I'm turning my racket sideways, and I'm putting my hand directly on top of the handle. Right on top. My hand's going right around it. I'm leaving a little space in between my index finger and the rest of my hand. Okay? So, ready position, shift for a forehand, shift for a backhand. So as I come back here, I let it fly, boom, and again my hand is right on top of the racket. If you're a two-hander, which is good as well, you'll have this hand behind it. So as I turn, I'm coming in, and then boom here again. I hit with the 1, so my left hand goes free. You can tweak that up, but generally an Eastern backhand. Would you agree, babe? An Eastern backhand is pretty much the consensus.
Yes.
It's pretty common, and there is some tweaks here and there, but generally the Eastern backhand, which you put your hand right on top of the grip, which would be the knuckles right along your top plane right here. So again, serving, you can hold a continental grip. That's what I do, stay nice and loose, and you can really do what you want to do serving the ball. For me, my son tweaks it a little bit, so his racket is more like this. So he comes up, I feel like he needs to go back to the continental though, but he likes to tweak it a hair. Forehand, continental, okay, continental, semi-Western, full Western, all right? Backhand side, Eastern backhand, hand goes right on top of the racket, okay? Two-hander comes up here to support as you make contact. So this is just an intro to grips, and we can go on and then debate which is best and which is not. But they're all something that is sometimes user dependent, however you hit or whatever type of footwork you have, however you like to set up. It kind of is something you have to go out and practice and really find what grip that you like. I was raised continental on both sides for the most part, with Eastern backhand, because I served and volleyed a lot. As I've aged and rackets have changed, I have found myself more semi-Western, at least on the forehand side. Still continental volleys, but with strings and racket technology, it's gotten so much faster, at least for me. Maybe I'm just getting older. Anyway, click subscribe below. I'll keep making these videos as long as I have time to do so. So keep your requests coming. I may not be able to answer them all, but hey, I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe it helped you, maybe it didn't. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay in touch. See ya.